64 squares and 32 pieces is all it takes to play a game of chess. Chess has become quite the popular game over the last few years, whether it be the Queen's Gambit or the time Hans Neumann was accused of using a vibrating butt implant to win.
Hey, yo!
It's become quite a popular game. Now, I myself am not very good at it, but I'd like to think I'm pretty good at 3D printing. So today, I'm going to be 3D printing my own chessboard. And pieces, not just the chessboard. Anyway. My plan is to make a chessboard that is practical, easy to pack away, and of course has my own character as a part of it. I stumbled across this video a while ago from a creator on Instagram. This guy had designed and 3D printed his own chessboard. It rolled up and it stored all the pieces inside, and it was perfect. So I'm taking heavy inspiration from that. I'll also be sculpting all of the pieces on the chessboard. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I have to make 6 unique pieces to play on the board. And then obviously, things like the pawns, I'll print multiple of them. Without further ado, let's dive right into it, and I'll probably cut to me modeling these things. So, yeah. Now, I did say I'm not very good at chess, but I do know how to play it, and maybe by the end of this video, you might know how to play it too. Because before I make these pieces, I want to explain how these pieces move on a chessboard. This is the pawn, one of the most basic pieces, but also one of the most valuable in the end. It can only move forward 1 square at a time, apart from on its first turn, where it can move 2 squares forwards. The pawn can only take another piece diagonally, but if it isn't taking another piece, there's no diagonals and no backwards. The pawn is the first piece I started modeling for this project. I knew the pawn would be pretty simple. I mean, the pawn in chess generally has a pretty simple design because it's the smallest piece in the game. Each team has 8 of them, so I didn't want to do anything extravagant. Initially, I began modeling the pawn, and I mean, what I ended up with, I probably can't actually show on YouTube. I went back to the drawing board, and I came up with this. I stacked a few donuts underneath the head, and I was happy with it. So I went ahead and printed that one. That is the pawn. Next up is the rook. The rook can move along straights, going up or down, side to side, as many squares as it would like to. It can't go diagonal. It can only go along straights. I used my character Cure.io because I really wanted to capture that sort of rook aesthetic, which I also associate with being square, but I guess now that I think about it, a rook isn't square. It's round, just like every other piece. I used his head and I modeled the top of it to look like sort of like a castle, like that alternating walls. Added a base, and there's the rook. The bishop is sort of similar to the rook, except instead of going straight and sideways, it can only go in a diagonal line. It can go as many spaces as it wants in a diagonal line, but that's it. Because the bishop's moving diagonally, it can only stay on the color it starts on. But don't stress, because you have 2 bishops. The bishop I created an entirely new character for. I actually don't have a name for this character yet, so if you're watching this and you think of a name, please leave it in the comments. I used my character and I modified him to give him a bishop hat. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. It looks like a bishop, so that's what I did for the bishop. The knights move in an L shape, which you could call it an L move. It moves 3 squares in a straight line before at the end hooking a turn and turning into an L. You could move it like this, or like this, or like this. The knight is unique because it can jump over pieces. So if there's a piece in its way, it'll just hop on right over. The only downside is the knight can only take pieces it lands directly on top of. So I wanted to make something kinda cool. I also didn't want to make just a horse. What I decided to go to was to use my character Rotonus. I put him on the back of something that vaguely resembles a horse. You can tell what it is. And I put him on the back of that. this was probably my favorite piece that I made, and that is the knight of the set. The next one is probably going to be your most important piece while playing chess. It's the queen piece. The queen is OP. She can move as many squares as she wants in whatever direction she feels like. Remember how I was saying that pawns are your most valuable piece, but they can only move forward one square at a time? If they manage to dodge everyone else on the board and make it to the other side, they actually become a queen. I think that's the rule. Take a guess who I used to make the queen. I used Curia. Queen Curia. This was quite a simple, but also quite a fun piece to make. I took Curia, I put her in a long dress, and I gave her a crown. Now, she looks fantastic. Really happy with how the queen turned out. The queen can go anywhere and is easily your most valuable piece, but not as valuable as your king. If you lose your king, the game is over. And the best part about the king is that he can only move one square in any direction. Yep. He can barely do anything. You guys probably know who I use for the king because he's in every one of my videos, but King Curio. I knew I had to make him look righteous somehow. The normal version of him in a hoodie was not gonna cut it this time. So out goes his hoodie and on goes his cloak. That's right. I gave him a cloak. He looks sick. After giving him a cloak, I gave him a massive crown, and he is the tallest piece on the board. And you can tell that he's the king. Printing these things was pretty easy. I loaded up this new turquoise sort of blue, and I wanted to do turquoise and blue for this project. If you remember back to the collectibles video, I said that I had a little bit of issues with the actual spool fitting on the AMS. Pretty much, I want to kill myself right now. And we ended up using a drill at the time, but that had since caught up to us, and it just did not work. It kept breaking. What the hell, bro? So I decided I'm going to print it in this turquoise blue, and just white instead. Most of them worked out fine. The knight I had a little bit of trouble with, but I got it eventually. Once I had all the pieces done, it was time to start thinking about the board. I had no idea what to do for the board. I was out of ideas. I was drained, to be honest. I ended up using this model that I found on Bamboo Studio. Shout out to this guy. I hit print on that and it came off perfectly. Okay, but like, this is sick. Also, forgot to tell you guys, but I put magnets in all the pieces. And with that, the chessboard is done.